Hey everyone, and welcome to Radical Democracy. I'm your host, Kamali Rose, and I'm here with some breaking news. For folks who have not seen it yet, there was a grand jury that was impaneled to decide on the Breonna Taylor case, and they came back today with uh, what is going to instantly be deemed as unsatisfactory charges against the cops involved in the murder, killing of Breonna Taylor. She was an EMT from Louisville, Kentucky. She was killed in her home while sleeping by cops, serving what was called by neighbors as, was said to be a no-knock warrant. We'll talk more about that. Essentially, the charges that came down, we'll take a look here at, we're just going to get right to it here, and then I'll give you my reaction to this news. But you'll see that this is from the Washington Post. Officer involved in Breonna Taylor's death charged with wanton endangerment. Other officers determined justified. So one of three officers involved in this, in the killing of Breonna Taylor, only one of those three officers have been charged. This is, of course, from earlier today. News just broke around 2 o'clock today. So it's just within the last, about an hour, within the last hour, this news is broken. And I think the indictment came down around 1:30. And so a grand jury in Jefferson County, Kentucky, has charged Brett Hankison, a former Louisville police detective, with 3 counts of wanton endangerment in the first degree. Hankison, one of the officers involved in the March 13th shooting death of Breonna Taylor, was fired by the department in June with a termination letter saying he wantonly and blindly shot 10 times into Taylor's apartment. So here are some significant developments from this Washington Post article that they note. The grand jury did not announce any charges against the other officers involved in Taylor's death. Attorney General Daniel Cameron, that's the Attorney General of the state, Kentucky, said the state's investigation, and he's a Republican, said the state's investigation determined the officer's use of force was justified because they had been fired upon first. Now, I'm sorry, I can't even, I got to stop it right here, because let's just note here that when they say that the cops were fired upon first, they were fired upon first because by witness accounts, the officers announced one time that they were police, according to one witness. Many other witnesses say they did not hear the police announce themselves at all. So people from inside the home, if you announce yourself one time and that's the first noise that you're hearing, that's not processing. The cops are trained to repeatedly say over and over again, police, 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 so that by all witness accounts, that did not happen. The officer said one time that they were cops and then burst through the door with a battering ram. And then the boyfriend of Breonna Taylor, who was staying with her, in fear for his and Breonna's life, used his gun to fire a single shot at the sound of people breaking into his home in the middle of the night. And this is somebody defending their own home. So if you're right winger and you believe in, Second Amendment and defend, I know where you stand, and I already know you're here to defend cops if you're on the right wing. But it's unprincipled is what it really is. And you lack consistency, you lack principle. You're not principled. You just hate black people is all. And you love cops. And that's so anywho, the boyfriend fired a shot back, fired a shot in defense, essentially warning shot, trying to, shoot towards what sounded like intruders into his home, breaking into his home bursting through his door in the middle of the night. He said he called out to them saying, who's there? He heard nothing. He said it again, who's there? Nothing. So he fired a shot. He assumed at the time that it was Breonna Taylor's ex-boyfriend who, was the actual target of this supposed alleged target of this warrant. And Now, mind you, it seems that the cops either already had him in custody at the time, or it turned out that they they certainly knew his whereabouts. And so, at the very least. And so the boyfriend just fired a shot. It hit a cop in their leg. It happened to, by chance, it hit their femoral artery, which is a critical artery in your leg. And the officer began to bleed out. He lived, he survived. Unlike Breonna Taylor, who, was riddled with bullets by these cops in response to that, a person in their home, defending their home, exercising their Second Amendment right, and tries to defend themselves against, what they believe to be intruders in their home. And so now they're saying that is a justified response from the cops, who appear to have not followed their protocol. And beyond me, I mean, all of this is all about drugs. This is all about drugs, right? Do you ever see them executing these kinds of warrants against the CEOs of Pfizer, the people that caused the opioid epidemic? No. They never do this shit. Those people are never caught up. Sackler never gets caught up in any of this. Like those people never get caught in any of this. It's always the poor little person, with no power whatsoever. They're the real threat here. This was about drugs. This is something that, honestly, if we lived in a sane society, if for like in Portugal, all drugs are decriminalized, right? And they've lowered the overdose rate. They destigmatized it, they decriminalized it, and they've lowered their overdose rate to one of the lowest in all of Europe. And so that's just that's what it is here. So you can treat it that way, and you can actually get the results that these people claim they want, or you can treat it this way and deal with people that you suspect of selling drugs. You have to respond with murder. You think that these people were not accused of any violent crime at all or anything like that. The people that they were looking for, now mind you, they weren't even at the right place. They weren't at the right place. They also didn't know that the boyfriend was there. They were supposed to be surveilling this place and didn't know that the boyfriend was there. So they were expecting to just bust through and have it be this one. Breonna Taylor's an EMT. She was a frontline, essential worker working on the front lines, literally out there saving lives, an EMT in the middle of the COVID, pandemic. And she's out here just living her life. And now cops bust in and shoot her dead. And this is the response that we get from the grand jury. And mind you, I've seen this stuff before. They say a grand jury, if a prosecutor, is worth their salt, they can get a grand jury to indict on anything they put forth. The requirements for getting in, this is literally just to see if these cops will have to actually go through a process of facing any sort of potential for justice. So this isn't like these officers being convicted or anything like that. This is literally, can their case be heard? Is there enough evidence here to even, be heard in court? And so this here with by cutting it out at the point of the grand jury, this is a way to circumvent any sort of, slightly democratic measure that could have taken place in the system of having like a jury, an actual jury of your peers, instead of these grand juries that they put them together and they literally are just they're just a rubber stamp of approval essentially for any half decent prosecutor. You go in there, you present some very vague evidence, and then it's enough to at least carry it forward to say, can this go to trial? But here you have the grand jury saying, nope, these two, as they said here, it was justified, they say. So let me and just a quick what up to Steve, shout out to Steve Alvarez, I see you there. What's up to you? And what's up to FTK EPDTK? Not sure what that is, but I see you there too. So what's up? Hey everyone, thanks for being here. Hit the like button if you haven't already. I'm not sure. I was just prepping. I was prepping to do a stream tonight, and I saw the news come across, so I just decided, just try to share my thoughts honestly, because it's upsetting, and it's worth venting about. So, all right, getting back to that article, that Washington Post article about the grand jury charges here. It says, so they said, the AG, Daniel Cameron, said that the state's investigation determined the officer's use of force was, quote, justified because they had been fired upon first. So it's apparently justified to just begin shooting at people in the dark after you just bust in through their door, essentially unannounced. And it's apparently justified for you to then murder an unarmed American civilian in their sleep, essentially. An EMT, just, All right. So Cameron said the state investigation did not determine who fired the fatal shot. He said he asked the FBI crime lab to investigate as well, and it determined Detective Miles Cosgrove fired the fatal shot. I mean, there's a fatal shot, but I'm sure any of a number of bullets could have, been fatal to her, and they all share in that. Every cop involved, every officer involved in this, just not just the ones that shot, but anyone that approved of this, this action from law enforcement, anyone who approved of this, they should all be, facing charges right now. Not just the cops that pulled the trigger, but them most of all, for sure. So Hankison received a $15,000 bond. Jamarcus Glover, the alleged drug dealer who the police were searching for at Taylor's apartment, received a $50,000 full cash bond. So Hankison, the one officer that got charged here, Brett Hankison, he received a $15,000 bond, while the alleged drug dealer who the police were actually searching for at Taylor's apartment, he received a $50,000, over 3 times as much. And again, the dude Hankison that they're not charging him for shooting Breonna Taylor, killing Breonna Taylor, murdering Breonna Taylor. That's not what they're charging him for. They're charging him for firing indiscriminately into this apartment building, bullets of which pierced through that building and went into other apartments in that same building, and ended up, nearly hitting other people, just people laying in their homes. They were just endangering whose life was at risk. But was anybody safer because of what the police came and did here? Is anybody safer because of this? The charges come 6 months after police fatally shot Taylor, a 26-year-old black woman, while carrying out a search warrant at her apartment as part of a drug investigation. They said, the Attorney General Cameron said the investigation determined it was not a no-knock warrant. So they're saying their investigation is determined, them cops investigating cops has determined that it was not a no-knock warrant, contrary to everything the witnesses say, and contrary to what the boyfriend who was in the home says. He absolutely did not hear them say that. He would not have fired at a bunch of cops. He was not trying to shoot it out with cops. So Cameron said, the decision before my office as the special prosecutor in this case was not to decide if the loss of Miss Taylor's life was a tragedy. The answer to that question is unequivocally yes. He said his job was to put emotions aside and determine the facts. Okay, the facts, apparently. These are facts. So now the National Guard units are reporting to Louisville, and the city will be under a 9 p.m. curfew as officials prepare for the possibility of protests. The possibility, yeah, you can count on that. The possibility of protests after Cameron's announcement. Louisville Police Chief Robert Schroeder said police will seek to protect the public while also ensuring the constitutional right for people to express their feelings in a lawful and peaceful manner. And just some updates from the Washington Post article at 2:08. An attorney for the Taylor family said the decision is outrageous and offensive. The attorney for Taylor's family on Wednesday excoriated a grand jury's decision to indict just one of 3 police officers involved in her killing, and on charges that stopped short of homicide. Former police officer Brett Hankison was indicted on 3 counts of wanton endangerment in the first degree for firing shots that entered the other apartments. So it's literally because he fired shots that entered other apartments. Nobody is being charged for what happened to Breonna Taylor. Ben Crump, the prominent civil rights lawyer representing Taylor's family, swiftly tweeted his reaction. Quote, Jefferson County grand jury indicts former officer Brett Hankison with 3 counts of wanton endangerment in first degree for bullets that went into other apartments, but nothing for the murder of Breonna Taylor, he wrote. This is outrageous and offensive. if Brett Hankinson's behavior was wanton endangerment to people in neighboring apartments, then it should have been wanton endangerment in Breonna Taylor's apartment too. In fact, it should have been ruled wanton murder, he added. The NAACP chimed in. They said, this is not what justice for Breonna Taylor looks like. Derek Johnson, the president and chief executive at the end of the NAACP, slammed the charging decision, calling it a national disgrace. We must take this anger to the polls and vote. Oh, God, yeah, take it to the polls and vote, because that's going to make a fucking difference here, right? Taking it to the fucking polls, because Joe Biden, there's good people on both sides, blaming the, more concerned about quote unquote violence against property than the violence that's being enacted against U.S. civilians. Yeah, that guy is going to somehow voting for him is going to change a goddamn thing. This is such a fucking sorry. I'll try not to get too carried away before I just present this. And then if you've already voted, get your friends to vote. The only way to change the system is to overwhelm it. Oh, come on. The only way to change the system is to just work within the system. Come on with your bullshit, please. He added, the justice system failed Breonna Taylor and as such failed us. But yeah, just go do more of that. Just go do more of that. Go vote. Apparently voting for Joe Biden is going to change any of this goddamn thing, because apparently, I'm mistaken, and Black Lives Matter, it didn't start under Obama. Eric Garner didn't happen under Obama. Trayvon Martin, John Crawford III, Freddie Gray, Antoine Rose Jr., Sandra Bland, Rakia Boyd. What the fuck? What do you mean go vote? What has voting done for any goddamn body about this shit? Whoever we vote for, we're gonna get more of the same shit, and don't fucking gaslight us otherwise, all right? Don't tell people that's just a bullshit statement from the NAACP right there, and they can kiss my black ass, okay? The idea that going to vote, somehow voting is gonna change a goddamn thing in this country. As if this problem isn't systemic, in that the system is a system of capitalism. Let's be fucking clear about that. That was born out of a system of slavery here. And the idea that all of a sudden that voting is going to change any of that is just garbage. It's just garbage. So shout out to the chieftain 117 who says the justice system failed, but work within the broken system to fix the broken system. Like, exactly. Like, what is that garbage? It's just bullshit. It's utter bullshit. It's gaslighting. It's just gaslighting. Now, these cops, I mean, look at this. They're literally getting away with murder here. They're literally getting away with murder. I mean, this is a EMT sleep in her own home and has cops just bust through, and I mean, shoot her dead. And you mean to tell me it doesn't even deserve a trial to see a jury of their peers? It doesn't even deserve that much? We can't get that? Come on. This isn't justice. This is not a justice system. This is gross. And to talk about this is justified. How can you say this is justified? How can you justify that use of force? Who could justify that use of force in that case? You're talking about, at worst, we're talking about drug crimes here. Drug crimes. These are people that they thought were dealing drugs. No violence expected whatsoever. People dealing drugs. I'm sorry, but there are lots of companies, corporations out there dealing drugs right now. The drugs that they're talking about, this isn't shit that is, I'm sorry, but we have much larger corporations that have created the opioid epidemic in this country, right? And caused an overdose crisis, diseases of despair. I mean, to then turn around and talk about, could you seriously justify this use of force? If this is the justified use of force against some street level drug dealer who is, again, that's not who got murdered here. It wasn't the drug dealer they were suspecting. It was his ex-girlfriend. They bust into his ex-girlfriend's house. So imagine you're just dating somebody, and because you happen to date somebody and you get out of that relationship, you're moving on, you got your whole new life being built, you got a new boyfriend, and they come and bust into your house because of looking for your ex-boyfriend on some, suspicion of, drug dealing. And so, and that's your response, gunning down an EMT, an innocent woman in her home, an unarmed civilian in their own home, and then to say that it's justified, that shooting was just justified, and doesn't even, require a jury trial for us to at least be able to have some little democratic say in this system. But no, we just got cops that literally can get away with murder here. If I'm telling you, if you're a murderer at this point, If you're a serial killer or you're just somebody with violent tendencies, what better job than being a cop? You can literally just murder people and get away with it. I mean, it's literally incentivizing, and it attracts these people that are these, psychopathic individuals that will just kill people and not even feel like, how do you not feel remorse in yourself to say that it's justified here? And it's the whole system working together in coordination here, because it's the attorney general that is a part of this system that, doesn't come down with any real indictment against murderous cops who, it's the whole, everyone involved in this should have been charged, not just the people that pulled the trigger. It should have been all of their supervisors going all the way down the chain of command. Whoever signed off on this should be charged. You directly caused the death of a U.S. civilian, an innocent, unarmed woman laying in her own home, an EMT who's fighting on the front lines of the pandemic, trying to literally save lives, and you just murdered that person. And we got nothing. And all we get is, the NAACP out here talking about go vote. Like, what do you mean go vote? What is voting going to do? How does voting change this for us? You literally got Joe Biden out here, who recently came out and was talking about, he ran a whole ad. He's running he did a 45 million. Was it 45 million? I think it's 45 million. Correct me if I'm wrong. A $45 million ad buy on being tough on law and order, being the tough on crime, law and order candidate, talking about, insinuating that there are good people on both sides. Essentially, he was playing that same rhetoric of, oh, well, we can't be, doing this violence against literally buildings. He talked about buildings and cars. Let me tell you, people, I am so sick of people talking about violence against property. Stop it. There is no fucking such thing as violence against property. Violence is acts against human beings or living creatures. Do not fucking tell me about violence against an inanimate object. It is not. Talk about destruction, damage of property, destruction of property if you want, all you want. Do not let me hear. And I'll tell you, somebody who I respect, Kyle Kalinske, recently came out with a video about, is property violence okay? Dude, stop, cut that shit out, brother, please. I'm begging you, cut that shit out, all right? Do not play into that right-wing framing of even the idea that one could be violent against property. Is just, stop it. It's detached from any fucking, any reality we should have. And so, this is just, it's disgusting. Here we have more cops getting away with murder in the case of Breonna Taylor. They're just, if it can happen, if they can do this to her, they can kill any one of us at any time. We are, and to talk about, it's like, and this again, don't tell me about Donald Trump here, because this is not fucking Donald Trump. Okay. This is not Donald Trump. I haven't looked at the comments, so I don't know if anyone's doing this. I'm not directing it at you, but I don't want anybody to tell me about Donald Trump right now, because this shit has been happening for as long. This is, from the start of America, from America's inception, this has been going on. There has never been a time where we haven't had this kind of violence and injustice from organized law enforcement against the black people in this country. So just please do not tell me, do not try to say do not try to attribute this to Donald Trump. This is nothing that, it's caused by it's not, okay? And if anything, people like Joe Biden and Barack Obama, they give cover to these people because they allow people to go to sleep. They allow a lot of our liberal, quote unquote allies to just be asleep at the wheel and be complacent and to just be okay, because their level of comfort is reached. There's no annoying person tweeting mean tweets out, and so that's their level of comfort there. I'll check out a few comments and then we'll I'll keep ranting, because this one's got me all kinds of twisted up. Like, this country is just, I hear people talking. We, recently in our Discord had some conversation about like emigrating out of this goddamn country, and I do not blame people, because it's just like, at what point is this place just too far gone that we recognize it might just be too far gone. But SW, not sure if that's my SW, my Yeah. But not sure if that's you. My SW, you know who you are. But shout out if it is. Um, SW says, is that you, Scott? Just tell me. So SW says, well, if votes counted, we outvoted them by over 3 million. I mean, come on. Yo, such a good damn point. Like, such a great point. Like, don't tell me about votes mattering when, for one, we live in this electoral college system that is it's so far removed from democracy. What we have is not democracy. We have so little understanding of democracy in this country. They've narrowed the scope of what democracy is down to just voting in presidential elections, and they trick us into believing that that's somehow democracy. It's not democracy. And if we had a real democracy, for one, I mean, most other places that have democracies, they don't know about a thing called a popular vote. When you say the popular vote, they're like, wait, the vote? You mean the vote? Because that's what that should be, the vote, right? In any if we had an actual representative democracy, even, we would have at least the ability to just say, okay, well, we tally the popular vote, right? It's not based on, okay, well, you got to tally the popular vote, and then that then attributes X amount of, we break it up this way on electoral votes. And how is it that, through the electoral college, I believe a voter in Wyoming, I believe they have 67 times the voting power of a voter in California. So it's not democracy. That's not democracy. And so the idea that voting is somehow going to get us out of this, well, as W points out here, if our votes really counted, then winning by 3 million votes would matter in a democracy, in an actual democracy. That would matter. That would mean you won. And I mean, the Republicans have won the popular vote once in the past 30 years. They've won the popular vote once in the past 30 years, yet they've somehow been in power half of the time. So you tell me if that's democracy to you. So, and if voting is somehow going to get us out of this situation, if voting is somehow going to get us out of police murdering civilians, all the voting we do, look at what just happened in California, all the protests, everything that we did, all that, reaction from people. Check out in Seattle, everything, all these places that got together, city councils, and said they were going to defund the police, and all these, everything that we did. And check it out. Look at what reforms have come into play. Has there been any defunding of police here? Have we even even a moderate defunding? Bernie Sanders proposed 10%, defunding, divestment, reinvestment of the military budget, and Democrats voted against it. So you can't. There's not even talk about actual real reform in this country at this point. And it's just so I mean, but don't get me, let me not be I'm not the arbiter of this stuff. I listen to it. There's a lot of black activists that are way more involved than I am, who say, I respect the hell out of one, Roderick Douglas, who says we have made great strides and that we've made decades worth of progress over the summer. So I'm not saying this to discourage people from protesting. Please go out there and let's be real. We know you don't need to hear from me. People will be out there. People will be out there over this one. I will be looking up and finding, where I can be to try to voice my concerns out there in the streets with the rest of the people. And so I will most certainly be looking for and be looking to go out there and voice my own concerns out there amongst the people. And so, yes, there will be protests. They're sending in the National Guard into Louisville, Kentucky already, and we all know what what happens when National Guard and military ends up coming into these situations. It only escalates the violence. So, oh, Racefist Media says, popping in to show support on my quick smoke break. This whole system is BS. This isn't justice. Yeah. Shout out to Kwame from Racefist Media, the other channel that I work on. And yeah, thanks. Kwame's, he hit me up right before the stream, and we chatted a little bit about this. And it's just, the whole system is garbage, and it's not. And we got to be real. The system is a system under capitalism. It doesn't mean that racism started under capitalism or racism only exists under capitalism or anything like that. No, but it is propped up by the capitalist system and is reinforced by the capitalist system. And so when we talk about the system is a capitalist system, and capitalism as defined by having the in institutions organized under an employer-employee structure. And so that's why we talk about the change that needs to be made being the change of democracy in the workplace. And it just sounds like sometimes to me, I'm like, Jesus Christ, I talk about it in the context of everything because it matters in the context of everything. We have to start to build our democracy where we actually have some control. This is where I have control. I don't have control out there in our political system. I don't have control over the cops. We've lost control over all of these institutions. We don't have democratic control of these fucking institutions anymore. We don't have democratic control over the fucking presidential elections in this country anymore. As SW pointed out, 3 million more votes, and we did, and the Democrats didn't win. It's not democracy. We've lost. There's no democracy here. If we want democracy, we got to start to build the shit in the places where we exist the majority of our lives. If we're not fighting for democracy there, unions, and democratizing your workplaces, that's the real move that must be made. That is the only move that can be made in order to gain the structural power that we're going to need to then build political power. This is, the Black Socialists in America, check them out. Check out Black Socialists in America and their dual power project. You need to be watching that and paying attention to that. If you're on the left and you're looking for a movement to join, please join that movement. If you're looking to show solidarity with Black people right now, to my white comrades, please check out the Black Socialists in America and what they are doing. They are doing real work, and they are doing substantive work that I believe is the critical, crucial work that must be done in order to actually achieve the goals that we claim to want here on the left. If we actually want to do that, it's not pretty, it's not easy. There's no instant gratification of a vote and then and then getting to see the votes tallied. You don't get any of that. It's going to be long, arduous, gritty ass. We're going to have to grind it out. Yes, but it is the critical work that must be done if we are actually talking about moving past a goddamn system where cops can just fucking murder people indiscriminately and never fucking face justice, okay? Let me tell you about Mondragon, Spain, okay? They have literally, it started out as a worker cooperative of 5 people. They now are over 100,000 people wide, and they have their whole own city, their own security force, their own colleges, okay? So their own school system, their own education system, their own policing, okay? So they started with 5 people in a worker cooperative 60 years ago, and they've managed in 60 years to build up their own institutions, their whole own structural, they have proper structural reform. If we're talking about, tearing down the system, rebuild the system doesn't work. The system is bullshit. The system is broken. Well, we need to build a new system. We have to build a new system. And the new system is democracy in wherever we exist, in the majority of democracy in the workplace, democracy in our housing. But we got to start with democracy in the workplace because that's how you gain the enough financial control over the situation to actually have power under this system. We need financial power, the dual power. It's about building financial power through democratic workplaces, worker self-directed enterprises, aka worker cooperatives, about building power that way, and then extending that power out into the political system, then using that financial power that you gain and from building these mutual aid networks and things of that nature, and then you build outward from that. And so we got to start doing the really unsexy work of building these democratic workplaces, not just this one here. I don't care. You don't have to support this one here. If you don't want to support this one here, don't support this one here if you don't want to. Please do if you want to. Please support us if you want to, but you don't have to. You can go and support whatever. Check out Cooperation Jackson. They're so much further than what I am here. They have reached far beyond where we have here. And check them out. Cooperation Jackson. Check them out. They are in Jackson, Mississippi, and they are a Black-run organization building actual institutional power through democratizing the workplace, giving people actual democracy. And until we have democracy in our economy, we will not have democracy in our political system, and we will continue to see this shit play out. I don't care who we elect next in November. I don't give a fuck who we elect. This shit will continue. Hear me now, quote me later. I guarantee you this shit will continue. Whether it's Joe Biden or Donald Trump in power, I assure you this will continue because the system will be left unchanged. And you got people like Joe Biden out there saying, listen, he told all of the corporations, he told his corporate donors, nothing will fundamentally change for you under me. And if nothing fundamentally changes for the wealthy people in this country, then nothing fundamentally changes for any of the rest of us. Racist, Kwame, Racist Media says, Mr. Shoot them in the leg. That's what the fuck we're getting. That's the difference between, Donald Trump and Joe Biden. Okay, that's the great difference. Okay, you might get shot, and instead of Biden literally came out and he said, and he fucking made the symbol, and he was like, instead of shooting them in the chest, you shoot them in the leg. Well, you know what? Fucking Breonna Taylor's boyfriend shot that cop in the leg, and what the fuck happened there? Protecting his own home, he shoots the cop in the leg and ends up getting gunned down anyway. But also the bullet strikes a femoral artery, which you can bleed out from. So even getting shot in the fucking leg, it's not like it's some bullets ricochet. I mean, it's just such a sick. It was like the most neoliberal statement you could ever make. It was just like neoliberalism incarnate. When you're like, oh well, this lesser of two evils. It's like the lesser of two evils. Do you want to get shot in the chest or shot in the leg? That's our choices in this election. Shot in the chest, shot in the leg. I choose fucking neither. Mark McKeever says the cops to teach other cops and right-wing extremists how to get away with the slaughter of minorities. Yeah. The cops teach other cops and right-wing extremists how to get away with the slaughter of minorities. Absolutely. And you see, I mean, this is it, and it's nothing new in this country. And it's like this has been going on for as long as I've existed, as long as I've been conscious. I've witnessed this stuff and been consumed by this shit. It's every story you get dragged into. You feel a personal connection to these people. They're your brothers and sisters. They look like you. They're but for the grace of God, as they say. That could be my sister. Breonna Taylor could be my sister. My girlfriend. Whatever. It's just like, you see these people and you feel connected to these people and you just realize it could be me. And by the time it is me, it's too fucking late. And then I'm just a hashtag. And I don't want to be a hashtag. And yes, you absolutely, Mark McKeever is 100% correct that you get, the cops in this country, they lay out the blueprint. How do you murder people without any kind of punishment whatsoever, without ever having to face any kind of justice whatsoever? And the answer is just be a cop. Just be a fucking cop, and you can rape, you can murder. It's in like 30 some odd states in this country. It's legal for a cop to have sex with a woman in his custody. Okay, that's rape. How can you not see that as, by the definition of rape, coercion? If you don't think that that's coerced sex right there, by just inherently by definition, that I have no words for you. So we got legal rape and murder by cops in this country, and that and it's just like, and so man, let me check out. Steve Alvarez says, word, love killing people. Exactly, word, love killing people, become a cop. The Golden State Killer knew the deal. Yep, exactly, like absolutely. And I swear, I've made this observation. Like, people talk about how like there's less cases of like serial killers and stuff, like less prominent cases and stuff. I swear, my belief is that there's less prominent cases of serial killers in this country now because they've literally realized that if you just want to be a legal serial killer, you just have to be a fucking cop. You be border patrol, be ICE, be a cop, and then you can literally murder, rape, abuse people indiscriminately. Look what's going on in ICE detention centers. They've raped people there, raped women, assaulted minors, sexually assaulted minors. They're doing slave labor. They got them doing slave labor just like in prison. We got forced hysterectomies. It's just this. Okay. SW says the entire system of police started out as a racist gang that hunted black folks. All cops are bastards. Absolutely. Check it out if you don't believe that. Go look at the history of organized law enforcement in the U.S. It started in the South out of slave patrols. The organized law enforcement was born out of slave patrols in the South. And then it was also born in the North out of the need for wealthy people to be able to extract taxes and to protect their property, for the wealthy to protect property from the poor people. And so that's where it was a racist classist system from its inception. And it will always be a racist classist system until we absolutely fucking completely dismantle it and rebuild something in its ashes. Okay, we need to burn it the fuck to the ground and then rebuild something in its fucking ashes. I'm moving past what I will now consider flowery language of defund the police, and just to talking about fucking abolishing the police because it scares people. Oh no, but we literally need to absolutely dismantle these fuckers and then replace them with something that's considered an actual peace officer, something structured to actually keep the fucking peace in society. Remove any type of interference from these fucking armed criminals, these fucking thugs. Remove any interference from them in cases of drug addiction, anything related to anything fucking drug related, period. Anything drug related, anything mental health, homelessness. I don't want to see cops responding to this shit. I don't want to see, I don't care what the fuck you call them. I don't want to see armed individuals responding to things where there's no violence taking place already. I don't want to see armed individuals showing up to these situations because they literally do nothing but escalate violence. What the fuck happened here? Cops showed up and escalated violence and murdered somebody that they thought was at worst selling drugs. At worst. No, and at worst, they thought her boyfriend was selling drugs and was leaving money with her. That's at fucking worst. Mark McKeever says, voting is overrated. Look at Florida when its citizens overwhelmingly voted to allow voting for felons, overturning 150 years of old law. But the political system squashed the word of the voters. Absolutely. I did a video on that. In fact, when they, when that's actually, I didn't cover that one. I think I just posted out about it, but yeah, they absolutely, there was this huge thing and they were talking about how many millions of people it was going to impact in Florida, and they literally just overturned. And I think that was by a referendum. I think they did that on a ballot initiative. So by ballot initiative, when you propose to people, if we actually had a direct democracy in this country on anything, if we could just, and these people, this right wingers that claim to love spreading democracy, they do not believe in democracy. If you disagree with me about, having more, giving more people democratic power, the ability to participate in democracy, you don't believe in democracy. And so, but here you have they expand out that people actually vote on referendums and I say this because I recently heard Saga and Jenny saying, oh, you don't want to have direct democracy. That's dangerous. It's so dangerous to have a constitutional direct democracy. I think that's absurd. Countries do it all the time. They pose referendums to the people and allow every person to just vote on something. And if that's the way that we actually pass certain legislation in this country, Medicare for all would pass. Green New Deal would pass. $15 minimum wage would pass. Legalizing cannabis would pass. Like if that's how we enacted policy in this country and we actually supported having a real democracy, then we would have so many of these popular things. We wouldn't be stymied by the people we supposedly elect to represent us. And so, yeah, this idea that we can somehow vote our way out of police brutality, no, listen, there are votes that certainly, listen, I voted in Suffolk County, near essentially the county for Boston, Massachusetts in 2018. And I voted for the Suffolk County District Attorney, Rachel Rollins. She absolutely changed the way that prosecution is handled in this county. Like it's by far more just than it has ever been in the county, right? And so I'm not saying that no votes, voting totally doesn't matter. It has no impact whatsoever. I'm not saying that. I'm saying this idea and what the NAACP is suggesting to people here, because what they're suggesting there is somehow voting in this national election, voting for this presidential election is somehow going to alter the course of police brutality in this country. And let me tell you, it will not. It might put a nicer face on it at best. And at worst, it's going to allow, complacency from the sort of, liberal and neoliberal base, of the Democratic Party, who will just go to sleep for the next 4 years if Joe Biden is elected. And they will just happily, they'll be out to brunch, if Biden gets elected. And they will not be in these streets protesting with us like they might do, tonight because Donald Trump is in power and they somehow, attribute that and they connect that and their rage really comes, I'm telling you, we're going to lose a lot of our so-called allies are going to be asleep. And I know this because, listen, I was asleep for 8 years under Obama. I fell asleep for 8 years under Obama. I did this shit. I thought, I voted for a black president. I solved racism in the country now, didn't I? I mean,
a black person's president must mean racism's over, right? We did it, folks. We did it. And I voted for Obama, and then I checked out for the next 4 years. And then I voted for Obama again, and then I checked out for 4 more years. And it wasn't until the end of all of that, when I saw the election of Donald Trump happening, that I finally was like, what the fuck is going on in our political system that this fucking buffoon can get elected? And that's when I finally start to wake up in politics. But I got that safe, supposedly progressive change pick. If you think that, Obama wasn't running a more progressive campaign than Joe Biden, I mean, he was running on some real progressive ideas. He was a progressive campaigner. I thought I voted. I made change happen with my vote. No, I didn't. I got a bunch of brown people, Mexican immigrants deported, the deporter in chief, a bunch of black and brown people bombed in countries I can't even name, in Africa, in Somalia, in the Middle East, in Afghanistan, which is Asia, in Afghanistan, in Iraq. We continue supporting the Saudi genocide in Yemen. I mean, we were still playing that same Israel-friendly bullshit while Palestinians suffered at the hands of Benjamin Netanyahu, who punked Obama. And then Libya, you got fucking Libya. Like, come on. And I didn't pay attention to any of this shit while Obama was president, because I felt like Obama. Thank you, Mark McKeever. Mark McKeever points out Obama allowed the beatdown of indigenous people at Standing Rock, and his punk ass didn't do shit until he was almost out of office. And then he makes some small measure only when veterans showed up to defend the indigenous people. It wasn't when the indigenous people were getting beaten and battered and assaulted by cops and right-wing militias. They literally set a law. They changed a law in North Dakota so that it was legal to run over protesters with your car under Obama. Okay, so. And he didn't do shit until the very end. He comes in and puts a pause on it right before he hands over the keys to Donald Trump. He did that in his lame duck session. That's when he finally decided to step in after Donald Trump had already been elected. That's when he finally decides to grow a pair and I hate that language. Sorry. And to actually do something about it. And it was mild, just bullshit, that had no real institutional power behind it, because he was handing over the keys to Donald Trump in a couple of months. And so he allowed that to happen. He allowed those protesters, those indigenous protesters at Standing Rock, to be maced and sprayed with freezing water and assaulted by cops and arrested. Journalists were arrested under Obama. All these people talking about, this and that, and authoritarianism under Trump. Yeah, Amy Goodman was arrested with Obama as president. Oh, Amy Goodman from Democracy Now!, because she's such a threat, Amy Goodman. So yeah, thank you. That was such a good point, Mark. Absolutely great point. The idea that Yeah. Do we have any other comments we want to? SW says, I donated to jail. I'm losing my voice already. I got to do a stream later on tonight, and I'm losing my voice already. This is great. SW says, I donated to jail bail money for folks in Louisville. I'm so mad at this. Good. That is the way we use our money. Mutual aid. That is what we need to be doing on the left. That is mutual aid right there. And we need to be looking at way more of that on the left. How do we funnel our money back into left causes, as much as we can, and into these things like mutual aid networks, so that when people get arrested, things like that, donate to bail funds. Absolutely, because people need that support. People, we have to support our comrades that way. So, so SW says, yeah, I donated to jail bail money for folks in Louisville. I'm so mad at this. When is this going to stop? All cops are bastards. For real. Yeah, absolutely. SW says the guy they were after was arrested before cops did this. Yep. And facts show they marked out the times and changed them. And no body cams. They got video. We ain't dumb. This is such lies. Exactly. The body cams never work. Whenever the cops go in and murder somebody, lynch somebody, all of a sudden the body cams don't work. Body cameras are not a reform that we should ever be pushing for on the left. They literally, the the evidence has shown they only use body cameras against people. Like, they can record, and then if they catch you on video doing something, they can go back and use that against you. They hear you say something, anything like that. So they can go back and use it against you, but they never use them in the case of when the cops do something wrong. Or we hear about the body cams. We get the body cam footage like 6 months after it ever happens by some leak of a chance. They never that shit never comes to light when it's against the cops. SW says the post office even cleared her before this too. They said she was getting packages. This is so crazy. We should be afraid to order anything now. Exactly. Like, we live under Amazon times, like the Amazon era of society. Now it's, you can't get packages. This woman she was not participating in this like illegal drug activity, which, again, from my standpoint, like, I have no issue with people. I wish all drugs were, recreational drugs were legalized, were decriminalized at the least, or potentially legalized, taxed, and regulated, in order to, destroy the black market for these things. So I think that the real move to likely make is not just decriminalization, but is to legalize, tax, and regulate all recreational drugs. So, somebody wants some sort of methamphetamine, they would go to a thing and they would be able to get a prescription for something like Adderall. You would, instead of like heroin, they would give people like other opiates that were safer, like give people. And also, in the case of people that are addicted to these drugs already, safe injection sites, anything like that. And yes, in my backyard, if it needs to happen in my literal backyard, I'm okay with it. Like, we need to not be pushing those things with the NIMBY attitude, not in my backyard attitude. Like, wherever those things have to exist, I want them to exist. Safe injection sites are absolutely, they monitor people. They have, trained physicians on hand in case anyone overdoses. It's absolutely what we need to be doing. And so just the idea that these people were like, selling drugs, or even if she was receiving drugs and packages in the mail, that does not give the cops the right to go bust into somebody's home and gun them down. The people that were responding to this should not have had guns. You know what would have happened? Same cop would have got shot, and they would have to back the fuck up and move away. But let's be real, they wouldn't have been busting in like fucking Rambo in the middle of the night if they didn't have guns. So you just take away the goddamn guns from these cops. I swear, just take away the guns from these cops, and I guarantee you they start acting a whole lot fucking smarter. I gotta stop cursing so damn much, but like, I guarantee you they start acting smarter about how they, and look at, I covered a story recently and we talked about it. Cops in the UK, 90% of cops in the UK do not carry guns. They carry mace and a baton. Like, fine, if that happens, I guarantee you Jacob Blake doesn't end up with 7 bullet holes in his back, like, or 8 bullet holes in his body, 4 bullet holes in his back. And I guarantee you that Breonna Taylor is not dead if that's the case. So, yeah, it's just it's garbage out here. And sadly, I don't see I don't see any serious reforms even being talked about in political arenas right now. Like, when you say defund the police, they will talk about this stuff. There was a dude won an election to win Joe Kennedy's seat. The dude who won Joe Kennedy's seat, Jacob Auchincloss, here in Massachusetts, this piece of shit voted against a 1% budget decrease to the Newton police in Massachusetts. If y'all don't, I don't expect you to be familiar with that. Look it up. It's literally rated as one of the safest cities in the entire country. This is the whitest, safest ass city, middle class, suburbia, white people. And they proposed a 1% budget cut, and the dude voted against that. And that dude is now he's going to be taking Joe Kennedy's seat in Congress. Like, these are the pieces of shit that we have in Congress. Not that Joe Kennedy's some great, entity on criminal justice reform or something like that. This dude was literally against legalizing cannabis for most of his career, and only flipped once he was absolutely pushed and forced into that position. So, he's not some sort of, radical leftist or anything like that. What If America says, SW says, my name is Sue. Okay. Sorry. Hey, Sue. Sorry. I have a friend whose initials are SW, and I just assumed that it might be them. Thank you, Sue, for commenting. I appreciate that. I appreciate that so much. So SW says, my name is Sue. I live in Lexington, Kentucky. I'm so mad at this, for real. Donate if y'all can to bail money for protesters. This is bull. Grand jury or grand wizard. Yes. Thank you, Sue. Like, thank you so much. And Sue's out, down there, where this whole thing is happening down in Kentucky. And so thank you for commenting, Sue. Thank you for being here with us. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much. And thank you for doing what you're doing, supporting, with mutual aid, these protesters that are going to be out there that need all of our support. We gotta be building up real support networks on the left so that we can protect each other when things like this happen, because we're not going to get protection from the police. The police are not there to protect us. Look at what happened to Michael Forrest Reynolds in just outside of Oregon, that he was extrajudicially murdered by the U.S. Marshals. Trump sent in U.S. Marshals to he ordered a hit on a U.S. civilian and had this dude murdered because the guy claims that he was acted in self-defense to shoot a right-wing militia member. After these right-wing militias, I read stories about how these right-wing militias, they move into Oregon every summer and they come down in they have these whatever you call those things, caravans of right-wing militias, and they come in and they assault the locals. They broke in their necks. They've killed some of them. Broken vertebrae in their back. So they come in there, they're violent against the locals. Any right winger, if you normally tell them that and they don't know that it's a left winger, if you told them, oh, some people were coming from out of town and were showing up into people's town, breaking their necks and assaulting them, their initial reaction, if you told them that it was Antifa coming in and attacking, right wingers, their initial reaction would be like, oh, well, I hope these locals defend themselves and defend their rights and pull out guns and shoot them dead if they have to. But when somebody actually does it and it happens to be on the left, oh no, they always find a way to be pro cop. And that's just that fascistic mindset. It is neo-fascism and authoritarianism. I guess, it's easily, without a doubt, it's just blind authoritarianism, and they crave that shit, and it's really gross. So yes, please do what Sue is doing. Support a bail fund. Maybe we can I should probably grab a link to one and drop a link to a bail fund in the description box. Let me see real quick. Oh yeah, you won't be able to drop the thing, unfortunately, Sue. We can't do links, so I'll drop a link. So Louisville Community Bail Fund. Let me know, Sue, if you have a specific bail fund that you already checked out, that you already looked into. I don't want to, guide anyone into the wrong direction, but I see the Action Network has a Louisville Community Bail Fund. I don't know if this is the right one that I should direct people towards, but we can definitely look into some more. But here is this is the Louisville Community Bail Fund. I'll just drop a link to that in the comments there, and I'll try to remember to update the description box with a link to this bail fund as well. But Sue, if you have a specific bail fund that you're familiar with, please let me know that you've already sort of did your due diligence on, and then let me know, and or whatever bail fund you support, and we will also promote that as well, so that people can please, donate what you can. I just dropped a link to the Action Network's Louisville Community Bail Fund. Please, if somebody wants to dig a little bit deeper here while we're on stream and look into that, let me know. Yeah, and let me know. All right. Thank you for the comments, Sue. I really appreciate you commenting and for being here with us. Please, to everyone that's here, I'm sorry to do this. It's a shitty time to be doing this. I hate this, but please, if you're still watching, do me a favor and immediately hit the like button. Subscribe to the channel. Please subscribe to help us grow the channel. We need your support. Independent left media. We are not big corporate run media. We need the support of everyday grassroots support from folks like you. So please support us. We are building a democratic workplace because we believe that democracy in the workplace is the only way to actually overthrow a capitalist system, as advised by economists like Richard Wolff, folks like Cornel West, who promote the idea of radical democracy. That's what we are fighting for here. If you can support us, I mean, please, first and foremost, support. I dropped a link to the bail fund in the comments there. Support folks that need the bail money first. You know, that's definitely first priority. If you have anything else left over and you would like to support this show as well and what we are trying to build here, building a, you know, democratic left media, then please head over to our Patreon. There's links in the, I don't think there's links in the description box. I'm sorry. I'll try to update the description box. I rushed to do this, you know, the breaking news segment. So, but head over to our Patreon, patreon.com/radical democracy. You'll see it down below, scrolling across the screen there. Please support the show as low as $1 a month, but whatever you can afford, honestly, we really deeply appreciate it. And we need your support to continue to exist. So please support the show. You can also drop us a one-time tip. It's replacing our super chat feature because we don't yet have super chat enabled. So if you would like to send us a one-time tip, please head over to coffee.com/radical democracy. Again, you'll see it's scrolling across the bottom right there, ko-fi.com/radical democracy. I will try to update the description box with links for that. And oh, thank you so much. It looks like, wow. Thank you so much, Sue. Sue dropped us a tip on coffee and said, love your show, SW, not Scott, LOL. So thank you so much, Sue. I deeply appreciate that. Thank you so much, Sue. We really appreciate that. Thank you so much, Sue, for your support. I'm humbled. I can't thank you enough. So I just deeply appreciate that. Thank you so much, Sue, for all of your support and for you know, even in the thick of it. You're right there in Kentucky, and I know how emotional of a time this is. And so just thank you for your support. We really appreciate that. And to anyone else who supports the show, we deeply appreciate it. If you can't give us financial support, which we absolutely need and would appreciate, then please just support us by just hitting the like button, subscribing to the channel, and sharing this out on social media if you can, just so we can grow this channel and hopefully, you know, allow it to be sustainable at some point so that we can do this full time, because this is what I want to do with my life. This is what I would rather be spending my time on. And so please support us that way. So, all right, let's get back to it. Do we have some more comments that we want to get to? Because, yeah, I otherwise I'll continue to share my stream of thoughts. So, I'm just checking really quickly to see if there's any other updates in this case here. All right, Go Grow New Mexico says, those painted nails ain't helping your decisions. I'm just saying, act serious in demeanor and you will get attention you look for. These nails, buddy, are fucking beautiful. All right. And I did these myself. All right. So I don't know what demeanor you're talking about, but if you out here worried about what color my nails are painted while people are being murdered by cops, then it's your own fucking problem, not mine. So love it. All right, buddy. All right. So I'm not, express yourself, people, however you can, however you choose to. You express yourself. All right. And don't let anybody tell you otherwise. So I don't care if people take me less seriously because my nails are painted. Go check out my welcome video. That nail job was dope. Okay. And I do hook these up myself usually. That's why only one hand stays painted half the time, because that's my power hand right there. So yes, they're beautiful. I wish you could actually see it. Let me get this. Like, y'all gotta get this. Y'all gotta see this. Like, this is some dope work right here. Look at that. Look at that. Y'all see that? Y'all see that? That's me right there. All right. That's me right there. All right. Go Grow. You happy with that? All right. So Go Grow New Mexico says, in order to stop it, you gotta engage in the community and gather rallies to vote against whatever problems you're having. Shut your ass up and do something about it. What do you think I'm doing right here? You don't think this is doing something about it? I'm telling you what we're trying to do about it. And it's trying to build democracy, because everything else we're trying to do about it, whatever you consider doing about it, it ain't fucking working, buddy. Look outside. It's not fucking working. All right. So we try to do everything about it. I'm out here. You see where where do you think these fucking posters come from? From protesting, from being out in the streets. I go and I knock doors for political candidates. I phone banked. I've made calls. What the fuck else do I need to be doing that I'm not already doing? I'm literally here trying to fucking build a media network, a democratic media network on the left where we can expose these things and inform people, properly. What do you think that we're doing? This is doing something, okay? This is how we do something. We try to build democracy, okay? So that we don't lose, so that we actually have some say over what the fuck happens, and we can actually select the people who come and police us, and so that this shit doesn't run away from us, run out of control, and allow injustices like this to continue to occur. They've been occurring in our society since the dawn of our society. What the hell do you think that we're not doing enough of? I've done it all, and I vote. What else do you gather rallies to vote against whatever problems you're having? What happens when there's no vote? That I want to vote against police brutality. How do I vote against police brutality? I dare you to tell me to go vote for Joe Biden, to vote against police brutality. May I remind you, if you didn't see that earlier, that Black Lives Matter started under Joe Biden and Barack Obama, okay? So the idea that you can somehow, that there's some vote or something to happen there in electoral politics right now. No, I went out, I donated my ass off to Rachel Rollins. I made, I texted for a campaign. Like, miss me with that. Go do something. We are doing something. People on the left, we are trying to do something. I told you, build mutual aid networks, support democratic workplaces, support independent left media, support independent Black media. Like, I'm literally here trying to build the media that we are missing in our society right now, because these voices are missing in our mainstream media. And so I'm literally here in my bedroom trying to build that from the ground up, while making next to nothing doing it. It's not enough to pay bills right now, and I'm doing this. So I don't know what more I can do. I don't know what more I can do. I'm literally trying to do everything possible, everything I can think of. I try to do. You tell me what else I can do, please, and I will go do it if I actually believe that it'll make any real difference. But what I actually believe will make a difference, building democracy in our workplaces. It sounds absurd, right? But we check out my Labor Day special, and you'll see more about why that I have that mindset. Because it's literally, there are people far smarter than I who have spent their lives studying this and studying the history of this, and say, listen, whoever controls the surplus in the workplace controls the political economy. Okay, so I want workers, I want everyday people like us to be able to have some democratic control over our society. And the only way that we will attain that is through building democracy in our workplaces. That's what I believe. That's what I genuinely believe. And so that's what I'm here doing. And so I, shut my ass up and do something. Literally, not shutting my ass up is me doing something. Okay, that is me doing something. That's me using whatever ability I have in order to make noise here on the left, to try to get some attention put on the issues that matter, and try to have some real analysis of what is going on for everyday working class people, Black, brown, white, whatever, anything, whatever, right? So I'm trying to build that analysis, trying to build that media platform, trying to build the only democratic media outlet that I know of right now, that the only one that's literally trying to be built on democracy, on the foundation of democracy from the ground up. I'm sorry, that's not enough for you. That's just not enough for you. What are you doing? Why don't you take your ass over to my goddamn Patreon and go support independent Black left media? Why don't you support this cause? Why don't you help me go do something by supporting this goddamn channel? Patreon.com/radical democracy. You go do something, go grow. You go do something. But I see everybody in this channel, that the people in these comments, they are out here trying to do something. That's literally what we're here. We're here trying to hold session right now, trying to figure out what can we do? What can we do? So shout out to everyone in the comments being, proactive here, trying to figure out and just process, because we all need a place to just fucking process when this shit happens. We need spaces to go to where we can process this garbage. SW says the left needs more YouTube voices out here. Absolutely, SW. So absolutely, Sue. I totally agree. It's why it's why I got into this. We absolutely need more power, and we saw the power of media. Media is what got it got Donald Trump elected. Media, they gave him like $1 billion in free media. That media, mainstream media, is what got Joe Biden nominated. They gave him hundreds of millions of dollars in free media and in favorable media. There was analysis on this. You can go and look at the favorability of the stories on Bernie versus on Joe Biden, and they favored Joe Biden in there, and it has immense power. And so I'm trying to, the left has to be serious about, if we're really trying to win, if we want our ideas to win and we want these things to actually, these policies to be enacted, then we have to build power on the left. And in order to do so, I think that this is certainly an outlet for that. And we have to build more, build up our media on the left. And so that's absolutely what we're trying to do here. And I said it in my intro video. I was like, I just want to add to the chorus of voices on the left. Like there are some great voices out there, and I just want to add to that. I don't think that I'm the only one doing this or anything like that. I don't suggest that, but I've had, people, we've seen figures on the left. Michael Brooks passed away. We lost a major figure. We need more people. We just need as many of us as we can have out here doing this work in order to build a counter to the mainstream media narrative. And that's what we're trying to do here. So Below Frey says, thanks for doing your channel. Peace, bro. We all in this together. Politicians need us to need them. Yeah, exactly. Like, and really, like, it's like they need us. We don't need them, and that's how we have to look at it, really. But what Below saying here is that they need us to need them. They want us to, and they want us to have this idea. And that's why they will, like, they're fine leaving the Supreme Court on this, like, hanging by a thread, and in this weird, just in this messed up state where we all have to, like, hold on with bated breath to make sure that Ruth Bader Ginsburg, survives every day, an 87-year-old woman fighting and battling out with cancer, and she's a fighter, and, everybody, there's only so much fight you can have and stuff. And like, and that's what our whole democracy hinges on. Like, that's what our democracy hinges on. Is that not a weak, sorry ass excuse for a democracy right there? But thank you so much, Below Frey. Appreciate that. Steve says he loves the nails. Thank you, Steve. I appreciate that, Steve. Thank you very much. Steve says, stump boy. Thank you, Steve. I appreciate that. I'm gonna hook him up too next time. I'm gonna figure out what I'm gonna do next with these things. Thank you, Steve. I appreciate that. All right, so I'm gonna keep checking on updates and everything. I don't have to keep the stream going crazy longer. I'll keep going. I want to get through all the comments that we have and everything. So I'll definitely get through all the comments that we can. But this won't be like, I don't intend to do a whole full show. I don't think so right now. I don't think that's I was planning to do a show tonight, and so I think I'll still do the show tonight. I have the show mostly prepped, to be honest, but I think all right. So Below Frey says, how does democracy in the workplace look? That's a great question. Thank you so much, Below Frey. So essentially, the way that the system is set up right now, the way that our economic system is set up, and I've been a capitalist CEO of a capitalist company. I've sat on these, on a board of directors, and so right now how it works is that you have a handful of people at the top. They're called the board of directors and the major shareholders, and they have they're AKA the employer, and they have all the decision-making power about who gets to work, where you work, what you produce, when you produce it, and what you do with all the profits of that production. And democracy in the workplace says, and what that does is it creates this tension between the employer and the employee, right? Your employer is always trying to extract more from the employees. They want to give them less benefits, less pay, and they want them to work more hours, and the employees are always having to fight, and it creates this tension because they're always trying to extract more, pension, better benefits, higher wages. They're always fighting with the employer over that. And it just creates this internal tension, this constant inherent tension in a capitalist system. So what folks like economist Richard Wolff and Cornel West and David Harvey propose is to build democracy in the workplace. The idea of democracy is simply one person, if something affects me, right? In a democracy, if something affects me, I should have some sort of equal say in what gets decided there. So if a decision affects me, I should have some say. That's the idea of democracy. So in a democratic workplace, it's one person, one vote on all major decisions. Who gets to work, what to do, what to build, how to build it, where to build it, and what gets done with the profits of your labor. So instead of having an employer and employee, everybody is both. You're both an employer and you're the employee. You're all get right now. It's one share, one vote. So in a typical capitalist corporation, there are millions of shares. For instance, on a company that I created, we created 3 million shares out of the gate, and 3 of us essentially split that 3 ways. So we each had about 1 million votes essentially. And as we let more people into business, we just give them a few thousand here and a few thousand there. And they could never, their votes never mattered. Even though they're one person out of 4 people or one person out of 5 person, they don't have 20% of the say in that organization, because, we had 1 million votes and they only had a few thousand. And so that's how it works right now. It's one share, one vote. Instead of one share, one vote, we want actual democracy where we work. So one person, one vote on all major decisions. And you get together once a week, once a month, once a year, whatever you decide together as a group. You get together and you decide, okay, you normal 4 days a week, you come to the workplace, you do your regular job like you usually would, but 1 day a week or 1 day a month or 1 day a quarter, whatever you decide, you all get together and you decide, okay, for instance, there's these manufacturing plants in like Detroit and stuff. All the workers, instead of a handful of people deciding, hey, are we going to go and move production to, Mexico? Well, you get all the workers together. Right now, it's just a handful of people, the board of directors, that get to make that decision for all of the workers, for sometimes hundreds or thousands of workers. And they get to decide, all right, well, okay, it's cheaper. We can get some cheaper labor over there. Well, in a democratic workplace, that would be posed as a vote to every worker. And you tell me, would all the workers get together in a workplace and vote to send their jobs to another country? Odds are no, they wouldn't. And so you get actual you have an actual democratic say in the major decision-making process in your workplace. And so these are, sometimes they have the name of worker cooperative, worker self-directed enterprises, but the idea is one person, one vote on all major decisions in a workplace. And that doesn't mean somebody has to make the day-to-day decisions. In some worker co-ops, there's one called Mondragon. That's one of the best examples of worker cooperatives. There's also a region of Italy called the Emilia-Romagna region of Italy. And they have 1/3 of the GDP of that region of Italy comes from worker cooperatives, democratic worker cooperatives. At Mondragon, it's a network of worker cooperatives. And there they get together and they make rules. Like, for instance, in Mondragon, no one person, the lowest paid person versus the highest paid person can only make up to 8 times as much as the lowest paid person in any of these democratic workplaces. Now, in some of the cooperatives, it's even lower. It's like 2 times as much or 3 times as much. And some of them, it's every worker gets paid the same. You decide together as democratically, you get to decide, do we want to pay everybody the same thing? That's the sort of things that you get to decide together democratically. And so it's just the idea that you give every person, instead of having a set of shareholders, everybody has one share, has one vote in the system, and you share in the decision making around what happens with the profits equally. Below Frey says, so let's see how to handle this. I own a cattle farm with 100 workers. They decide in democracy they want an extra $20,000 a year. Do I just give all my income to them and then I have nothing? Well, listen, you would be one of the 100 workers. The whole point is that there is no boss over them, and democracy doesn't work if there's one boss and then everybody else. It's not democracy, that's a monarchy essentially, and so no, that wouldn't be the case. You would be one of those workers, right? You're all going to get together and decide. Now, listen, there's examples of these places. They exist and they are more productive than capitalist workplaces. So, you can question that potential, but these things exist already. It's not like I'm making this up or I'm fantasizing or anything about this. They are very successful. The Mondragon in Spain is the 4th largest corporation in all of Spain. It's a democratic workplace. Okay. So these things are in mind you, Microsoft and GE sends people over to Mondragon to learn how they can be so as productive as them. So these aren't new things. And the capitalists here, they know how productive it is, because when you give people actual democracy, when you give people an actual say in that workplace, they feel, and they are part owners of it. They do feel an ownership over it. They're not going to tank their own business, you know? And so you saying, do I just give all my income to them? No, you are one of the workers. So you don't give anything. You all get to decide together. Hey, what's going to be the average wages? And you're just one of the people. Now, in some Democratic workplaces, they do hire managers, but in Mondragon, the employees hire the managers. They vote to elect their managers. And every year they get to reelect new managers. So if you are mistreating your workers or anything like that, you will be voted out. And in other worker cooperatives, they have arrangements where the managers are only managers temporarily. You share in the managerial work, so everybody rotates in and out of that work. You're going to be a manager for 3 months, but then you're going to go back to being an employee. So go and set up a bunch of messed up rules that mistreat employees, and you're just going to be mistreating yourself later. So this is how you get around these abuses in the workplace. And also, when you take away that hierarchical power structure, that's how we actually start to tear down things like sexual harassment in the workplace and sexual assault and those sorts of abuses of power in the workplace. That is much more difficult when there's no boss over you. There's no person who has hiring power over you, who can decide to fire you at the end of the day. You know, like you're not giving up control like that. And so you don't have the ability for people to abuse power in that way. So yeah, what you're proposing there, you got to take away the I own a cattle farm part, because you don't get to, if you own a cattle farm with 100 workers, you don't have a democratic workplace there. That's not democracy in the workplace. And so Below Frey says it's called owning a business. Listen, dude, there's not only one way to own a business, all right? And that's what I'm trying to point out to you here, is that there's not only one way to own a business. There are many ways you can own a business. I own a business, all right? I'm the CEO of something called Nimble Notes, okay? I own a business. I built my own software. You know, I built software with 2 other people. I'm the CEO of that company. I know all about what's owning a business, okay? You're not proposing anything unheard of to me or anything. This isn't, you know, fantastical stuff for me. I've lived this. I've experienced this myself. So I'm not saying anything that I'm not willing to do myself. I'm willing to give up that CEO power to have democracy, because I believe that's the action that I don't want to rule over anybody else. And so it's not called owning a business. That's called renting human labor. That's what that is. And I think that owning a human labor, I think that owning a human being is almost, I think that renting a human being is almost as abhorrent as owning a human being. So I don't think that it's so much better, the idea that we rent people versus owning them. I just don't find that to be a dramatic difference to me. And so that's, you know, if you're supporting the idea of, you know, this concept of wage slavery, then so be it. You want to have power over people, right? You want to exercise power over people. What about those people that don't want power exercised over them? That's who I'm concerned with. Steve Alvarez says, worker co-ops, cut this clip, start a playlist. I was hoping you'd blow this topic out. Yeah. I mean, I talked a lot about them in my Labor Day special. So I still have to cut all the clips from the Labor Day special. I haven't even gotten around to it yet. And when I do the Labor Day special, I'm going to do a whole playlist from the clips. I did like an 8-hour episode on Labor Day. It was like a 7 or 8 hour episode. And we played like 20 clips. Like it was like 10, or at least 10 clips from Richard Wolff breaking down all of why, you know, what democratic workplaces are, why they're superior to capitalist workplaces, you know, why they have increased productivity, why they succeed more than them, why they have a higher success rate than them. So he breaks that all down, and then he explains how they work and all that sort of stuff. So I absolutely will be breaking those clips up. And this is certainly something that I plan to have a focus on. You know, I always try to tie every story that I can back to democracy in the workplace, because I genuinely believe it all does tie back there, because all these things that we're trying to do politically, I don't think that we have any real means to do them politically, because we lack economic power. And we lack economic power because we hand away our economic power. Every day we go to work and we work in a capitalist institution, we hand over the vast majority of our economic power to whoever the employer is, whoever the board of directors and major shareholders are in that. If you work for the government, you hand it over to the government. And so yeah, whoever your employer is, you hand over all that economic power to them, because they get to decide what happens with the surplus of your labor. And so I just want to cut out the middleman. And I'll absolutely make that happen though, Steve, for sure. What's up, X? I'll do it with this hand though, just to really annoy So Grow New Mexico. Sue says the protest play into Trump's narrative. He wants protests because he can say rioting, looting. Attorney General Cameron is Mitch McConnell's boy. Mitch is his mentor. This was all planned to go the way it did. IMO. That's gross. I did not know that. Thank you, Sue, for that that fact there. I did not realize that. This is all Kentucky, so this is Mitch McConnell's stomping grounds here. For anyone that's not familiar, Mitch McConnell's going to be running against Amy McGrath. Charles Booker had a real chance to beat Mitch McConnell. Unfortunately, due to voter suppression in Louisville in particular, they closed down 99% of the polling places in Louisville, forced everyone to sort of, be limited to 2 polling locations in all of this major, in this entire major city of hundreds of thousands of people had to be funneled into just 2 polling locations. And so through voter suppression, I believe Charles Booker had that race stolen from him, unfortunately, by the Democratic establishment and Amy McGrath. And so now there's no real chance to beat Mitch McConnell, unfortunately, in the general election. Amy McGrath is down by double digits, and she's running as a Trump Democrat. She's a pro-Trump Democrat. So just even if she won, it's like, what the hell are we getting? Just another pro-Trumper. So apparently, this Attorney General Cameron is Mitch McConnell's like little errand boy here, and he considers Mitch McConnell his mentor. So you can just imagine what kind of monster this person is if they consider Mitch McConnell a mentor. So thank you for that, Sue, for dropping that knowledge on us. Sue says protests are what made this nation. They are American as apple pie. This decision will be protested by Americans for Americans. Racism will fall. They will crawl back under from whence they came. Yeah, that's I hope for it, and I will be out there, fighting on the front lines alongside everyone else, as in every way that I know how. And but absolutely, unfortunately, protests are American as apple pie. Sadly, racism is also as American as apple pie, unfortunately. And so it's been with us. I mean, from our very inception, the country was founded, the Constitution was written, and Black people were not considered full human beings. And the people writing our Constitution of this country, the thing that literally constituted the country, we're a bunch of slaveholders, unfortunately. So we know racism is ingrained into this country. Protest, luckily, also is ingrained into the country, and so we have to fight back. We have to go out there and protest every way we know how. Now, of course, I will just say, you protest non-violently. That doesn't mean don't protect yourself. If somebody is attacking you or something like that, you defend yourself. You make sure that you protect yourself. If you're being attacked or anything like that, if police are attacking you, please protect yourself. Police are the ones who determine and dictate violence in protests. And so we should always be wary of that. I do not care. I personally just don't give a damn about property damage. I just don't care. It's rioting, as Martin Luther King said, is the language of the unheard. People are not being heard right now. I don't care. Go out there and break shit. I don't give a fuck. But don't hurt other people. Don't hurt people. I don't want to see any human being. I don't want to see any person getting hurt. Be safe, protect yourself. Check in with activists on the ground. Make sure that you know what you're getting yourself into before you go out there. But absolutely do go out there, support, stand up, voice your concerns. Let this country know that you are not pleased with this sort of authoritarian, dictatorial rule, in this tyranny from our government. And so I hope that racism will fall. I honestly do not believe that it will fall under a capitalist system. Unfortunately, I just do not. I think that it is deeply rooted and ingrained into a capitalist system. And it's already been set up so that because of how capitalism works, the people with the money have all the power, and the people with all the money are not going to be the people who were slaves just a few decades ago, just a few generations ago. We were slaves. We didn't have the right to vote. Women didn't have the right to vote. Like this whole system was built with cutting out a certain, just a subset of people. And it was pretty much built as like a straight white males democracy for sure. But not so we gotta start to look for other ways that we can actually start to build something that is sustainable, that allows us to operate outside of the dictatorial rule of either the neo-fascist or neoliberal oligarchic rulers, whoever they happen to be, will either, like Chris Hedges recently said on his at his People's Convention speech, we have two choices in this upcoming election. It's either for neoliberal oligarchic rule or neo-fascist oligarchic rule, and either way, you know, the oppression will continue. Obviously, you know, do I prefer neoliberalism or neo-fascism? Sad, you know, neoliberalism if you hold a gun to my head, obviously. But I prefer neither, and I think that we have to do, in order to do that, it's going to take some real gritty work on the ground. Check out things Cooperation Jackson, and really that's where I would start. Black Socialists in America and Cooperation Jackson. I think that if you're looking to build solidarity with Black left communities, that please, I implore you to check out Black Socialists in America. I think they're at blacksocialist.org, I believe, and check them out and look at what they're working on. And I really believe that they have the right you know, initiatives right now with the dual power app. The idea of dual power is just to recognize, and economist Richard Wolff recently spoke about this. Dual power is just this idea that when you have sometimes in societies, your institutions are crumbling, and there's an there's an opportunity to fill the void left behind by those crumbling institutions. There's sort of two competing powers, and there's a new power sort of competing with that. And we have to build that dual power. This is a chance where the institutions are failing us. I mean, people they don't trust the Congress anymore. Congress has failed us. Look at how they just left poor Americans, you know, out to dry in the middle. You know, they gave like a $4.5 trillion stimulus to the biggest corporations, gave $1,200 checks to everybody for 6 months and sent them on their way, essentially. And so Congress has failed us. You know, I mean, the presidency, even the executive branch has failed us, right? So the legislative branch failed us, the executive branch has failed us. We got a buffoon, Donald Trump, in power here, with our next best option being Joe Biden. And then we got, you know, the judicial branch and the judiciary, which fails us in the criminal justice system, the law enforcement. Obviously, law enforcement as an institution, they are at an all-time low. Their approval rating is at an all-time low. So the corporate media, mainstream media, is their approval is at an all-time low. So people do not trust these institutions anymore, and these institutions are failing us. And we have to build up a dual power. We have to build dual power. We have to replace that falling power structure with something humane and just, and actually just in its place. And we can't do more. I don't want to see like rainbow capitalism or black capitalism, as Fred Hampton Jr. said. Fred Hampton Sr. said, sorry. You don't fight, he says, you don't fight capitalism with black capitalism. You fight capitalism with socialism. And this is what socialism is. It's a dismantling of the employer-employee relationship so that we stop giving up all of our economic power, and which leads to us giving up all of our political power. So it's really got to start there. We have to take back power, starting where we spend the majority of our lives, and get democracy there. At least if you believe in democracy, you should certainly believe in democracy where you spend the majority of your waking hours. So you can't really call it a democracy if you don't have democracy where you spend the majority of your time. How can we call this a democracy in this country? And thank you. So just another, shout out to Sue again. Massive shout out to Sue for the tip. Thank you so much, Sue, for that tip. We really appreciate that. And thank you to everyone. We had a few folks try to tip us on the last stream, and unfortunately coffee was acting up on us and didn't work, but shout out to those folks too. Shout out to everyone for all of your support. Shout out to all of our Patreon community. You are our heroes, truly. And I don't even have the words. I can't thank you enough. I really can't thank you enough. And to anyone that's here that hasn't done so already, please do me a favor and immediately just hit the like button. Very simple. Just press that like button right down below, somewhere down there. Follow the pretty yellow nail there and just hit that like button below. Subscribe to the channel. If you haven't already, you should definitely subscribe. And share this out on social media if you don't mind. Really appreciate that. And if you can afford it, please head over, as you see scrolling across there,
head over to our patreon.com/radical democracy, or give us a one-time tip. Since we can't do super chat yet, you can drop us a one-time tip on coffee, ko-fi.com/radical democracy. Thank you so much. And yes, Mark McKeever, I agree 100%. Sue rocks. She absolutely does. Sue, you have been a force on the stream, and I really appreciate it. Dropping knowledge, gave us some breaking news out here, and just like giving us some good insight, I should say, some really great insight, and then your support for the show. It's just I can't thank you enough, Sue. Thank you so much, and the community appreciates it. Raised Fist Media also showing some love there. Kwame says thank you, Sue. So thank you so much, Sue. The community appreciates it. We all do, really. I mean, anyone who supports, it's supporting this whole community, it's supporting the whole movement, and we really I just can't thank you enough. Sue says, hey, thank you. LOL. I support a great voice on the mic. Thank you so much, Sue. We really appreciate that. Thank you so much to everyone for being here. This is, if you're just joining us, we're just talking about the news that has come down in the Breonna Taylor case. There was only one of three officers were indicted. And he was indicted. His name is Brett Hankison. He was indicted on 3 counts of wanton endangerment for firing indiscriminately into the apartments around Breonna Taylor. Nobody was charged for the actual murder of Breonna Taylor, and so. This is still injustice, no justice. There has been no justice for Breonna Taylor, still no justice. And as Mark McKeever says, no fucking justice, no fucking peace. Like, and peace is got to be clear. Like there's what Martin Luther King talked about, and there is a negative peace, which is the peace that some liberals are all too comfortable with, is a negative peace, which is simply an absence of tension. That is not the peace that we're talking about. We don't want just an absence of tension. We want a positive peace, which is a presence of justice. And so no justice, no peace. Literally, you cannot have justice. You cannot have peace without justice. There is no, that is a negative peace that they're talking about. And it's a weak peace. And it's not the kind that I'm fighting for. So I'm looking for a true positive peace, which is a presence of justice. And we don't have that. We don't have that here. We got cops literally getting away with murder here. Under the hands of some, Mitch McConnell lackey, essentially just let all these cops off with, said that it was justified for them to murder an EMT who was out there fighting on the front lines of the pandemic, just trying to save people's lives. And so there has been no justice, unfortunately, in this Breonna Taylor case. And this is just the next step in that. And I mean, it's not totally over at this point. They're still reviewing evidence, but I think we all see what is that nothing more will come of this without, if there's mass protests, if something, if people are enraged enough, if we get enough people in the streets, if people are out there and they can make enough noise and draw enough attention to the cause, maybe we can get some more charges handed down. But the thing is, in these grand jury cases, it is any prosecutor worth their salt. If you impanel a grand jury, you can get an indictment on as far-fetched as the charges you want. The evidence that is required is not the same level of evidence as to convict someone. And you just have to have very basic, whatever, preponderance of the evidence, I think they call it, or something. But it's very vague, and you just have to be able to make the case that there's at least enough evidence there to just have a trial. And in this case, we're not even going to get a damn trial for a woman who was unarmed, innocent woman, EMT, did nothing wrong to anybody, and had cops burst in her home and riddle her body with bullet holes, shoot her dead. And if we can't get justice in that case, I just don't know. I don't know what it will take. It's literally like, it's for some people, unless it happens to them, they will never, rise up and do something about it and stand in solidarity with people. And that's a damn shame. Raised Fist Media says it's not peace, it's complacency. Yeah, that's what some people are looking for, just this negative piece, this idea of complacency. They just want quiet. And it's like, no, it won't be, peaceful protest does not mean not making noise or not disrupting traffic or not, I don't care if you got to block a highway and, set a damn car on fire. That ain't
not peaceful to me. It's the lack of peace comes from the police in that situation and the cops. And as I said, they're the ones that dictate the violence in these situations as well. And so when they talk about nonviolent protests, it means, you typically see that. I mean, I'm going to talk about a story on the show later about how Trump was like laughing at a journalist who got shot during a peaceful protest, got shot with a rubber bullet by cops during a peaceful protest. And Trump just laughed at it. Like, dude. So yeah. I did that one. SW says good trouble all day long and night if necessary. Yep, good trouble. Yep. Good trouble all day long and night if necessary. This is a grave miscarriage of justice. It will be protested hard. Absolutely. And I am, I wish I could literally physically be there with the protesters in Louisville. I know that protests will be rising up and I will be on the lookout. And if I don't do a show tonight or something, it will probably be because I'm out attending a protest. But we'll see what happens and what rises up here in Boston, and we'll definitely be supporting the cause from Boston and trying to do whatever we can to. But honestly, I just, I fear that our cries will go unheard, unfortunately, in these situations, and that this situation may already be past the point of ever being able to receive any justice for this situation. And so we protest, not just for this matter, but for everything moving forward, and just to say enough is enough, and we won't accept it. It's not the America that we want to live in, that we want to be a part of, and we demand better. And so please support, donate to bail funds to help people that do get arrested tonight. There will likely be arrests tonight. Please support folks. If you are out there and you're protesting, if you can step in the way, particularly if you're white, you got to step on the front lines there for white folks, white allies. Step on the front lines, put your body between cops and black folks tonight. Don't let anyone get arrested. You can unarrest people. Activists do this shit. Do not let anyone get arrested if you can help it. You form circles around them. You protect people in any way you can. Please, avoid bringing guns to these situations. Like, do not. It doesn't help the situation. You're not the good guy with the gun thing. Just doesn't work out. And so I don't support that. I don't agree with that. I don't think that we should be trying to do that. It just doesn't work out in our favor ever. We care about people's lives. We're not going to just be shooting indiscriminately into crowds. So we on the left, we can't really, I just don't think that that's an outlet for us. So I get it. If you're a leftist and you believe in, Second Amendment rights and protecting yourself and protecting folks that way, do it. If you're safe and you're trained and you know what you're doing, do it. Be out there, protect people, but be very careful and recognize that the law is never in your favor. And, the case of Michael Forrest Reynolds says it all for us. So, but I agree. If folks can get into some good trouble, go out there and do your thing and just be safe. Please be safe. Don't use milk on your eyes. If you get sprayed with pepper spray, please just use clean bottles of water. The milk can cause infections. So just be very careful with that. That's something that I learned that I just try to pass along where I can, because I was under that impression that milk was safe, but it can lead to infection. So don't use milk, use water. Just be safe out there. Be careful, y'all. Be safe. And make your voices heard, though. Make your voices heard, because we have to make sure they hear us. Any other comments we want to get to? All right, Tammy's going to pull up some more comments for us. One second. And shout out to Tammy, our super producer, Tammy, in the background, just doing her thing. Really appreciate all of her help with the show. So shout out to Tammy, our super producer. Below Frey, I do like this comment. Below Frey says, you can indict a ham sandwich. Like, literally, seriously, like, oh, famous quote. See, it's a famous quote. Like, I never heard that one before, but yeah, like, that's what they say. You can indict a ham sandwich. Like, a grand jury is supposed to be able to indict anything. Like, so the idea that you can't get a grand jury indictment, it's a joke. And they do this because they fear that if it goes to trial, that the cops will be convicted. And so this was their plea. And I was going to bring up this story later. maybe I'll just bring it up now. Yeah, maybe I'll just cover this story now. I was going to cover this story later, but I might just cover it now. There was a cop who came out. This one. So let me do this. I'll do this piece that I had planned for later. Let's take a look here. Okay, give me 1 sec. I'm just going to pull this up for us here. Excuse me. Maybe making weird sounds. Okay. Give me 1 second. I'm just going to pull up. So there was a cop from I believe it's the Louisville Metro Police Department, LMPD, who sent out an email to about 1,000 officers at like 2 a.m. On yesterday. And I'll show you. So let's take a look at some of what they wrote here, just to infuriate some folks here. But yes, I totally, yeah, thank you for pointing that out below, Frey. That famous quote. You know, if they wanted an indictment, they could have got one. Absolutely. So let me just pull this up. All right, so this was just a thread on Twitter from Roberto Aram Ferdman, and he is a correspondent for Vice News, previously a reporter for the Washington Post. And so he is reporting here that LMPD Sergeant Jonathan Mattingly, who is being investigated as part of Breonna Taylor's case, sent an email to around 1,000 officers at 2 a.m. that calls protesters thugs, complains about the government enforcing civil rights violations, and claims this is, quote, good versus evil. So let me just zoom in a little bit more on this here for you. There we go. And let's take a look at his email. And this is gonna outrage you. I will warn you in advance. It's gonna piss you off. So if you're sane, and so just a warning. So this is from the officer, and he says, this is in his email at 2 a.m. He says, LMPD family, I'm not here to give you a rah-rah, you got this speech. I'm not here to tell you that you signed up to help this community and to keep your head up. I'm here to tell. So this is, mind you, sorry, let me be clear. This is an officer, just to be clear, an officer that is, you know, was one of the officers that stood to be charged in this, in the murder of Breonna Taylor. This is one of those officers now, emailing the rest of the department, essentially, all the other cops in the department. So he says there's about over 1,000 other cops that he's emailing this to. And he says, so I'm not here to give you a rah-rah, you got this speech. I'm not here to tell you that you signed up to help this community and to keep your head up. I'm here to tell you I'm sorry you have to go through this. I'm sorry your families have to go through this. I'm sorry the mayor, Amy Hess, and Chief Conrad failed us all in epic proportions for their own gain and to cover their asses. You, he's referring to cops, do not deserve to be in this position. The position that allows thugs to get in your face and yell, curse, and degrade you. So that's him calling protesters simply yelling at cops. Literally, protesters exercising their First Amendment rights are thugs. That's how this person who's given a gun and told to walk around and enforce the law, he thinks that anyone who is exercising their First Amendment right, he thinks you're a thug for doing so. He thinks that you're a thug for simply speaking. He goes on, throw bricks, bottles, and urine on you and expect you to do nothing. It goes against everything we were all taught in the academy. Ooh, what? Okay. So apparently they're taught you don't let people exercise their First Amendment right, apparently. The position that if you make a mistake, during one of the most stressful times in your career, the department and FBI, who aren't cops and would piss their pants if they had to hold the line, go after you for civil rights violations. Your civil rights mean nothing, but the criminal has total autonomy. Now, I'm just popping myself on here to say this. Like, he just fucking called this a mistake. Let me tell you what's a mistake. It's a mistake when you go to the store and you meant to buy plain cream cheese, but you got the chive cream cheese, right? It's a mistake when you left the house and you forgot to lock the door. Holy shit, that's a mistake. It is not a fucking mistake when you roll up into somebody's home armed to the teeth and shoot them more times than I can count until they're dead. Okay, that's not a fucking mistake. Okay, when you bust in unannounced and just murder an EMT, a U.S. civilian who is unarmed and has done nothing wrong, has not broken a damn law, and it is not a mistake. That's not a mistake. Okay. Sorry, I'll continue. So it goes on. This email goes on. So the position that if you make a mistake during one of the most stressful times in your career, okay, so your civil rights mean nothing. So the position that if you make a mistake during one of the most stressful times in your career, the department and FBI, who aren't cops and would piss their pants if they had to hold the line. Hold the line. That's a really unique phrase there. Hold the line. I believe he's referring to the blue line. And they had to hold the line, go after you for civil rights violations. Civil rights violations. Your civil rights mean nothing, but the criminal has total autonomy. The fucking criminal, which criminal? Breonna Taylor is not a fucking criminal. She's not a criminal. She's an EMT. She's an innocent civilian who did nothing wrong. Who the fuck is he talking about? The criminal has total autonomy. And you're worried about, you're concerned about the literal people that are in charge, that are tasked with responding to civil rights violations. You're concerned with them going after a person who murdered a U.S. civilian for a civil rights violation. You don't think that somebody should be at least go through a trial to see if they actually violated someone's civil rights? You don't think that? Anywho, he goes on. We all signed up to be police officers. We knew the risks and were willing to take them, but we always assumed the city had your back. The city had your back. Wow. I thought that it was the cops that were supposed to have the city's back, but apparently it's the city that's supposed to have the cops back, apparently. He says, we, and he keeps using this, he keeps on using the language we. Notice how he keeps on saying we, because he's making them all complicit in this. He's showing us you are all complicit in this. So he says, we wanted to do the right thing in the midst of an evil world to protect those who cannot protect themselves. Who the fuck were you protecting? Who the fuck were you protecting, you piece of shit? You weren't protecting nobody. You ran up in somebody's house who needed protection from your piece of shit ass, and you fucking murdered them. Who the fuck was there to protect Breonna Taylor from your piece of shit ass? Who the fuck was there to protect her? Is she not supposed to be guaranteed protection under the law? Who the fuck was there protecting Breonna Taylor? In the midst of an evil world, to protect those who cannot protect themselves, to enforce laws that make it possible to live in a peaceful society. A peaceful society. Do you consider it peaceful when cops run up into your house and shoot you dead? How fucking peaceful is that? We as police do not care if you are black, white, Hispanic, Asian, what you identify as this week. I don't know if that was racist or, queerphobic, like transphobic, like, because it sounds like it's like what you identify as like gender wise is what it sounds like to me. So probably some trans antagonism is what the new term that I've been hearing being used is, not transphobia, because phobia implies that they have something to be afraid of here, whereas it's a trans antagonism. So, I'm trying to learn and use better language myself and be careful with my language. And so these people aren't just transphobic. These people aren't transphobic. They're trans antagonistic. And so I'm fairly certain he just mixed in a little, trans antagonism into his racism there. And it's this whole, like, I don't see color bullshit. Unfortunately, I see color. I see the black on my skin every day I wake up, every interaction I have with cops. I see the damn color. He says, we aren't better than anyone. You damn straight you aren't. We aren't better than anyone. This is not an us against society, but it is good versus evil. Good versus evil. He's saying that in this situation right here, what he just participated in, he was the good and Breonna Taylor is evil? Yo, I'm not gonna have any voice left to scream about this shit soon, but like, are you fucking kidding me? Good versus evil? Yo, the only evil in this situation is the one murdering people, is the cops shooting indiscriminately into other people's buildings. You know, other children were nearly shot in this thing. Who knows what happened to them? You know, this bullshit thing finishes, and I got to get this off my fucking screen before I lose my mind. But he says, we are sons, daughters, husbands, wives, partners, brothers, sisters, dads, and moms. We are human beings with flaws, feelings, and emotions. But apparently, Breonna Taylor, this alleged drug dealer, they weren't sons, daughters, husbands, wives, partners, brothers, sisters, dads, and moms. No, they weren't. They weren't human beings. They weren't just human beings with flaws, feelings, and emotions. That apparently Breonna Taylor, and her alleged, drug dealing boyfriend, they don't deserve that same respect of their humanity, apparently. Man. Yeah, y'all. It's just this. So, this is just that's what we had coming from the cops, sitting there. That's what their focus is on, right? That's what their concern is about. That's where their concern lies. Not about the people that were the innocent woman that was murdered. Sue says, speak the truth. Thank you. Yes. That poor girl, man, I'm telling you, she was outright murdered by a racist gang. Genocide. Active taxpayer paid and supported murder of Black people. Yes, like 100%. Like, that is straight up state sanctioned racist murder. Like, this is a lynching. It's a lynching. They lynched Breonna Taylor like they lynched George Floyd. I use that language unapologetically in the case of George Floyd. I got to start using it here because that's what this is now. This is officially a lynching. You just got an unaccountable, indiscriminate racist murder of a U.S. civilian by a racist gang. Let's call the police what they are. They're the most. I am not scared of any gang more than I am afraid of the police in this country. No gang scares me more than the gang of police. They're the only ones that I'm worried about can just kill me indiscriminately on broad daylight with everybody watching, hand over their name and their ID and still get away with the shit. Sue says, so the courts give guilty people $12 million. Shaking my head. Yeah, exactly. Like, if for folks that don't know, recently, Breonna Taylor's family was awarded one of the largest settlements. It's not the largest settlement. I believe it's the largest settlement for a Black woman ever, because we know they undervalue, that's the lowest value that our racist, misogynist, system assigns to any human being is, being if you're a Black woman, oh, don't be a trans Black woman, or a trans Black woman who's not native born. My goodness, you're royally fucked in this society. But yeah, they awarded her family $12 million. Like, do you think that they did that because she was some guilty criminal that had done wrong and she was evil? Do you think they gave $12 million to evil and took it away? And mind you, it's totally taxpayer funded in both ways. First, it's taxpayer funded. The murder is taxpayer funded, as Sue said. We fund the police, so we fund the murderers, but then we turn around and it's the taxpayers that pay the settlement, right? So taxpayers have to pay the $12 million settlement on top of it. So these cops are not being held accountable for this in doing these I'm happy. Listen, don't get me wrong. I'm happy for our family. You get that money, you get that bread. Like, you get that bread and you don't feel bad. You don't feel like you get that bread. Now, does that mean that that changes anything systemically? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. That doesn't make a damn difference systemically. It will absolutely make a difference in the lives of our family, and that's good. And they absolutely deserve that. But they deserve. You can't. How much is the value of a human life? Like, I assure you, they would trade their daughter, their sisters, their girlfriend's life for that. In a heartbeat. So So they would much rather have her back, but you can't do that. You can't bring her back. And so, the $12 million is one of the largest settlements in any wrongful death case. But I don't even know are they calling it wrongful death? I believe they have to be at least calling it a fucking wrongful death. But so it's but here this is the police think that they're the good, and apparently Breonna Taylor, she's the evil in this situation. Sue says the facts Attorney General Cameron gave the grand jury wasn't the true facts. They totally ignored 10 people who lived there that said they did not announce. So many facts hidden from the grand jury. Yeah, there were literally, they had there was there was 10 people who heard the situation go down. Out of the over 10 people, one of them said he heard the cops announce themselves one time. In the protocol is supposed to be constant, repeated announcement. Police. You have to make it 100% clear before you go busting down someone's door, and you have to make sure that person, because you don't know, did they hear you? This is in the middle of the fucking night. You're sleeping. You hear a big crash at your front door, and this girl's got ex-boyfriend who she's had issues with, and all these sorts of stuff. That's your fear. That was his fear. He thought that her ex-boyfriend was breaking into the house to maybe hurt her. So he fires a warning shot, and it happens to hit a cop or whatever. And now that's their justification. Now that's the justification for murdering an innocent unarmed woman. Now come on. They could have backed the hell away and regrouped if that was the situation. And again, if they didn't have guns in the first place, none of this shit would have happened. Don't send armed people to arrest non-violent, potential criminals, or execute non-violent warrants. The idea that they were looking for, they thought that he was stashing money at her apartment, maybe drugs, they thought, and so her ex-boyfriend. And so they were there to search for this money and stuff, or because that's what they had on phone calls, recorded phone conversations. They thought that she was holding money for him essentially. And so that's what you need. That's the response. That's the level of force that you need to go execute a warrant, to go look for some money in somebody's home. And it was just they didn't surveil the place properly, so they didn't realize that the new boyfriend was staying there and was sleeping there that night. And to not even have to face a trial. They don't even have to face a trial, y'all. This isn't justice. Sue says the cover-up will come out. The change times on the papers, the no video, it'll come out. Yep. Attorney General Cameron was the mastermind of all this bullshit, along with Mitch Bitch McConnell. Sorry, let me get that right. I 100% agree. I believe that it will just, in due time, the facts will slowly leak out, and we'll find out years later when these cops have been reassigned and they're working at some new gig. This fired cop, he'll get a job somewhere else on some other police force where they enjoy, abusing Black and brown people and poor people. He'll get another gig. Don't you worry yourself. He'll be right back up and running in no time. But I absolutely agree that it will come to light over time that there was cover-ups and I mean, the grand jury thing is just, I don't need to even wait for anything to come out. I don't need to wait for anything. If you want it as below Frey said, you could, that quote, you can indict a ham sandwich. You can indict a ham sandwich if you want. So there's nothing stopping these people from an indictment if they actually wanted to indict anyone. They just don't want to indict anyone. That's the problem. But I totally agree that more will come out. More will come out, and there will be, the facts will come to light, and the body cam stuff. That they had cameras on. I read something that said they definitely had cameras on that. On them. So all right. All right. Sorry, just reading through some of these comments. I appreciate everyone for commenting. Thank you so much to everyone who's here with us right now. If you haven't done so already, please do us a favor and immediately hit that like button right down below there. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. If you haven't done so already, just do it right now. Please support independent left Black media. We need your support. Also, you see the little ticker scrolling across the bottom there. Support the show at patreon.com/radicaldemocracy. Do we have links in the description box yet? No.
No. Okay. I will update that like literally maybe right now. Give me 1 second if I can figure this out real quick. Nope. Nope. Okay. Maybe I can't. Okay. Here we go. Sorry. All right. Give me 1 sec. I'm going to add links in the description box there. All right. Sorry, y'all. Did this as breaking news, so I didn't have time to put the links in. I'm putting links in the description box below for our Patreon and our coffee. So it's just the links. That's all I have time to throw in there right now. Thank you so much to everyone who's hit the like button. If you haven't already, please just do so. Do so right now. Thank you so much to everyone else for doing that. All right. So I dropped those links. If you're like me and you're too lazy to hit to type that into your browser, please just click the link in the description box below to head over to our Patreon and drop us some support there. Please support the show. Patreon.com/radical democracy. That's the best way for us right now for to get support. All right. So do we have some more comments we want to get to? No? No. Okay. All right. No. Wrap it up, babe. Okay. Yeah? Yes. Why? Okay. All right. Well, I think that's all that we got for now. Honestly, I still have to do a stream this evening, so I still plan to do my regularly scheduled stream around probably going to be around 7 tonight, honestly, because I was going to do it at 6, but that's literally an hour from now. And I do not have that's not a lot of time to eat something. So I need to get some food in me, and then I will be ready to go. So I'm thinking 7 o'clock realistically for tonight's stream. So we are still going to do a live stream tonight. I hope everyone will join us for that. Thank you to everyone that joined us for this, breaking news stream here. And thank you to everyone who commented and for just chilling out with us here and chatting with us. I really did appreciate all the insight. Thank you so much to Sue, one of our new commenters and supporters. Thank you so much, Sue. Seriously, thank you so much, Sue. Thank you so much for your support. So thank you for all of that, and thank you to anyone who subscribed. It looks like all right. Yep. All right. So we're winding down here. Sorry, y'all. Just doing the last checks because every time I say this, I say, okay, I'm gonna go, and then I close out the stream, and then I'm like, oh, somebody did sign up on Patreon or something. So just doing one last check before I go, y'all. All right, that's it. I will see everyone later. We'll have should be some really interesting discussion going on later. So Sue says, thanks, Tammy, Mark, and everyone. Thank you, Sue. Thank you so much. So we will get back to you with some more coverage later on tonight. Sue, I'm not sure if you're referring to me there with the comment. Sue says, oh, okay, what's this person's name? Yes, I'm Kamali. Thank you so much, Sue. Thank you so much. Really appreciate you. All right. So, all right. I think that's it. I don't want to keep y'all around too much longer. Obviously, I love stealing every minute that I can from YouTube's algorithm, and we got 10 people here on the stream, so don't mind stealing 1 more minute from them, 10 more minutes of watch time from them. Oh, cool announcement just for the channel's sake, just some quick channel stuff. Feel free to dip out of here if you're already if you have to go, no worries. I'm just gonna do some quick chat stuff about just channel based stuff. So we recently surpassed 3,800 watch hours on the show. So in order to get to the threshold for monetization, you have to get over 1,000 subscribers. We we're cruising past. We've already cruised way past that. We're over 1,130 subscribers by my last count. Maybe Tammy could do a quick check on that and tell me what our current count is. But let me do a quick check. Quick check. All right. All right, 1133. Awesome. We picked up a few more subscribers during this stream. I think we picked up 2 new subscribers during the stream. So thank you so much to everyone that just newly subscribed for us. I think Sue's one of those folks. So thank you so much again for that too, Sue. So we've passed 3,800 hours, which means we have less than 200 hours left. It's I can give you the up to date. It's 3818. So we are 182 watch hours away from being able to apply for monetization on YouTube. That does not mean that we will be guaranteed it, unfortunately, but we will certainly be applying. If you want to hear more about that, please sign up for our Discord server by becoming a $5 or more Patreon. So if you head over to patreon.com/radicaldemocracy and donate $5 or more a month, if you pledge $5 or more a month, then you will get a link to our Discord server where we have some, just community discussion and chat and some behind the scenes talk. You can recommend stories if you have anything that you want to see covered on the show. We are trying to do this as democratically as possible. So we want our community to be able to, contribute to the news stories as well. We've had members of our Patreon community on the show already. Steve Alvarez, shout out to Steve, who was in the chat earlier, has come on the show. We're hoping to have What Up America on the show soon to discuss the wildfires on the West Coast. They are on the West Coast now and living through some of that. And so we would love to have them on the show to discuss that. Maybe there's some chance that we can do that tonight if they're available. If not, let me know. What Up America, if you're there. If you let me know in the Discord if you wanted to pop on for a little bit, 30 minutes or so tonight, maybe to chat about the wildfires on the West Coast. We are going to be covering that story tonight. Tonight we'll also talk about on tonight's show. We'll talk about Trump mocking a reporter for being shot during a peaceful protest. Trump now has secured enough votes to move forward with his Supreme Court pick. We'll discuss that. The world set a 2020 deadline to save nature, but apparently not a single target was met. So we're going to discuss that UN report and also the wildfires and maybe a little talk about the, America's least favorite grifter, Tim Pool. So if any of that sounds interesting to you, please join us at 7:00 tonight. Also, we will hopefully, if we have enough time, we'll talk about Biden dunking on progressives and the progressive base of the party. Once again, just spitting in the face of the progressive base of the party. And we'll talk about, is that good strategy? How might that impact the election? So all of this and more on our stream tonight. And please support the show by just watching. The best thing you can do right now is the best way to support right now is to drop us some funds on Patreon or on Coffee, or to watch the show. Watching the show is what's going to get us across the threshold for monetization. So we just need more folks watching for more time. So please come back, join us later. And one last shout out to super producer Tammy for all that she does in the background there. She is behind the scenes keeping this whole thing running and together. So shout out to super producer Tammy for all the work that she does. All right. That's it. That's all I got for now. I don't think there are any other announcements. I'll talk more about, I got a cool little random aside thing that I'll talk about on the stream tonight. So you got to come back later to hear about that. It's really cool, actually. It's some pretty cool potential, news maybe or something, but it's intriguing. So come back, join us later to discuss that. And thank you so much to Sue, who says I shared you on Twitter. Thank you so much, Sue. Thank you so much for everything. You have been a champion this stream. Thank you so much. That's awesome. I feel bad because I know my reaction is not nearly as I wish I could show the level of appreciation, and I can't thank you enough for all the support. Everyone who does this, it means so much, and it helps us to grow. And we are tiny, and we need every little bit of support. It matters. It has such a greater impact for a small channel like ours. So thank you so much to everyone. I'm going to shut up. I'm going to stop this stream now. If you want to support the show, just check out our past streams. If you haven't watched some of, check out our clips. We got a ton of clips and on different topics, and our live streams. Please check them out. Check out my Labor Day special if you haven't already. I think we did some really good coverage. And just keep fighting in whatever way you can. Support, build solidarity, support bail funds for the Louisville protesters who are going to get arrested tonight protesting, and for whatever in your community, whatever you have to do, please stand up, support, fight however you can, because we cannot continue to let this happen to us. We have to fight back in every way that we can. And so thank you to every comrade out there that is in solidarity. Please keep fighting the good fight. Please. All right. Do we have, oh no, I don't. Bye. Oh, do you? Okay, there we go.